Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here again. So I wake up this morning with you deep on my mind. And when I say you, I'm basically referring to those of you who are suffering from a lack of those resources that are essential for your survival and that which gives you joy. It's robbing me. It's just draining me. And I'm constantly trying to see if I can come up with something out of the Spirit that would work for us, that would bring me comfort because you are getting comfort. And what has got to be done could be expressed in those words, and you could get that message. And so I got up this morning and I began to write. And I called it, what does it mean to say, as in heaven, so on earth? And I put a bunch of information together that I'm going to share with you, ladies and gentlemen. And the subject matter again, what does it mean, as in heaven, so on earth? Now, I had just about finished this document when I had to stop and go to the store, get something that my family needs. So, and as I got in the car, the radio was on, and I began to listen to, I don't know the particular station. It was a station that I don't normally listen to. It was a talk radio station. And I'm not familiar with even the subject, really, but they were discussing measurements, the process whereby whomever came up with the revelation of measurements and time and space, what degrees of involvement it must have taken to be able to come up with a measuring system that could be measured anywhere on earth by any people anywhere on earth or from any space on earth, and you would come up with the same regardless of where you measured from. The distances between space and time. I mean, just listening to them talk about it. But it had to be precise. It couldn't be something that worked in one part of the country and not the other part of the country. Because this measurement had to be so precise that it could measure the entire earth, the entire globe, and everything that's in it and on it. And, ladies and gentlemen, it seems as if they were able to do that. Because we do have a measuring system that works all over the earth. The people may be at odds with one another, but the measurements, these things are precise. And so it hit me smack in the middle of my heart, that the systems that works just like that, it must also work that way when it comes down to human beings. There must be a system so precise, so divine, that wherever it is practiced anywhere on earth, it would produce the same identical thing, peace and prosperity and joy of life. It would meet that every requirement essential for the survival of every individual on the face of the earth is made available to them. And the evidence of that being the requirement, that being the pursuit, is that everything that is necessary to meet those requirements have either been planted in the earth, on the earth, above the earth, seen or unseen. And the knowledge to extract from those resources and do the wonderful things that human beings have done and can do rest in the hearts and minds and hands and feet of men just like you and I. And in so doing, my friends, that in itself, the career indulgence gives you your greatest joy. To know who you are, what you are, and why you are, and then the ability to do it, you can't beat it. You cannot beat that. You cannot beat it. And then in doing that, it connects with everything that everyone else is doing. So no one would ever be without food and clothing and shelter and education and health care as they exercise their career. And by doing this, you would have peace, you would have prosperity, you would have joy in life. And your dreams could come true. That is practiced anywhere on earth or any other place would produce just that same thing, and it would not require any money. It would not require any lying and cheating and stealing and killing. Any of that. So, my friends, I stand to tell you that that is the divine method that would work everywhere on earth. That what you think about, dream about, or understand heaven to be can be right here. Now, I just kind of gave you a summary of what I had written down. And I think I want to share this with you anyway, because I might have missed some of you in my analogy before. Now, when heaven is spoken of, it refers to peace. It refers to prosperity and the joy of life. Dreams are real. All essentials for survival are available. Food, clothing, shelter, education, and health care. And all fall under the operation of the inhabitants. That means you, the people. No virus is allowed. All viruses have the same effect. They disrupt all peace, all prosperity, all joy, and it destroys dreams. These viruses are the product of deception. They divide for the purpose of control, and such division creates poverty and crime and violence. Its engines operate from lies and cheating and stealing and killing and terror and war. It creates hatred and bigotry and racism. Its invasion is cunning by entering the system, introducing unfamiliar information, and allowed the maintenance itself, and allowed to maintain itself until the virus is acceptable in the program as normal. The heavenly hosts are perplexed at this invasion that has affected the heavenly bodies, creating confusion, distrust, and doubt. The purpose of the virus is to destroy heaven and establish its opposite, hell. Its method is to hijack heaven's mode of operation of love for life and God and respect for one another by introducing money, in this case, as the resource to make dreams come true rather than love and respect of the heavenly order. Wow. The heavenly order is that individuals will choose careers that gives each one their greatest joy. To know oneself, your purpose, and do it is the greatest joy. Builders, farmers, seamstresses, educators, medicals, doctors, and dentists, each of these professions provide for one another, and no one is suffering any loss. Heaven is wherever this conduct is practiced. The deception starts when a virus is introduced, claiming to be superior to any other way of living. It claims to recognize that some are smarter, some are better, more deserving than others. The benefit of lying gets what you want and robs the victims. Cheating catches the victim off guard. Stealing takes advantage of trust. Killing instills fear. Yet the reward of life occurs through the divine process, doing unto others as desired to have done unto oneself. The deceiver holds that each one can get more of the materials of life, of which they are more entitled, if they accepted a different benefit, money. Heavenly allows all needs, wants, and desires to be fulfilled. The virus allows exploitation of the good, the kind, the loving people, leaving them suffering from a lack of truth and love and resources of life, while the perpetrators of the virus racks up and overflows their barns, their bank accounts with so much bounty or booty, whatever you want to call it, that it has to be stored in different countries. At some point, what was once considered as heavenly is now resembling hell. Occasionally, the truth is recognized. It rises up to spread light in the darkness, but the darkness is mighty, and the personality of a narcissist, the smartest, wisest, knowing more than the generals, the best brain, the richest, with gold toilets and planes, and a familiarity of the failure and role of compromise of others to this virus, makes change back to the original authority appear lost on arrival. The forces of anti-God, anti-life are alive and well. The forces for love and good are trampled. But as long as the representative of heaven exists, hell will lose. But who represents God? Who represents love and life and heavenliness for all? They are the worst treated, most envied, and the most sufferable in what was once on earth, as in heaven. Nevertheless, truth will unlock the chains and open back the door to freedom. So just hang on. God is not dead yet, as long as we choose to live. But heaven will not win until the people reject evil, until preachers turn to God, until those that know God resist the devil's way. And ladies and gentlemen, that was the point that I stopped on before I left to go to the store. But let me add to that something that should make this clear. We have lived in this world so long under the influence of the anti-God until it seems like everything that is accepted as being normal is that which is right. And it is all wrong. And yet we the people, whether we say we know God or not, we are doing exactly what the anti-God has described for us to do. Now, the reason we do this is because we don't know any better. And God keeps allowing us to exist so we can have a chance to know better. And periodically, someone stands up for God, and the light is seen. Somebody comes out of the darkness into the light. But for the most part, they don't. Because it's stranger than fiction to leave what you know. And what do you know is what you see and do every day. To go to something that somebody says is something you haven't experienced is very complicated. But I want to say to you, every system of the world in every country is basically designed by God. But they have all been exploited. The evidence is in that which I articulated earlier and you recognize as being evil. I'm going to give you an example and I'm going to close. When you were in the world told you what you had to do to survive. And you made a choice. And some of you followed, some of you have achieved that or are still on it. Some of you didn't make a choice and you fell by the side, and some of you just out there. But here's what you don't know. Whatever you were doing in the world, if you ever got the light, if you ever saw the light, if your heart ever changed, it would be evidenced in what you are doing now. Now I'm going to take this straight down to the heart of the core and tell you just like it is. You're not going to like it, but you're going to love me telling you just like it is. The job that you have was designed for a purpose. That purpose is the service that you render. That's what that job was designed for. And the reward for you doing that job is that all of the essentials necessary for survival are yours. They are yours. Every last one of them. Why? Because you participated in God's business. Now, here's what happens. You don't know that. You think you're doing that to make money, so you can get what you get with money. That's the trick. To do it God's way, you got to care about your job, the service, and everybody else. To do it the way we do it today, you care about your job and getting that check. And hatred and bigotry and all that other stuff comes out of there. And you get reporters and people who observe what's going on all over the internet, talking about the problem, speaking about the problem, waiting to see what someone else is going to do, and nothing gets done. It's going to take all of you on those microphones to say the right things and put those microphones down and do the right things. You're going to have to get out there in it. You're going to have to become an example of what is truth. You're going to have to know the truth and represent the truth. That which gives life. You're going to have to stop doing things. Now, did I make that same thing clear? I don't think I did. Let me just say this last thing, and I promise you I'm going to wrap it up. Those of you who go to work for paychecks, you do that so you can get the things that you want out of life. And you never expect the nation to shut down where you work and get no check, or where they put you on furlough, or have you work and don't get paid nothing, but you have to do that to keep your job when they do open up. You never anticipated that, but it will happen. It's happening right now. Anybody who recognizes God, who getting a paycheck right now, they know they still got to have their rent, just like the people who are not getting paid. Their rent and stuff got to be paid. Their mortgages got to be paid. They got to have food. They got to pay those things that they're accustomed to doing. They still need to have those things done. But under the system that you live under right now, that happens only if you fall in line strictly to what the boss says, because he can shut you down. And what can you do? That could never happen under God's program. And even now, if this system shuts down, ladies and gentlemen, it will go to the extent of having you denied food. The food won't be able to continue to be distributed across the nation. All of the resources will be shut down, your electric and all that. This system will do that to you. But that could never happen under God. Because God's people work in those positions, and even if this system decides to shut down and do this to you, God's people will rise up and step into those positions of people who don't want to do anything because they're being led by the devil. And they will begin to do that work. And the food will continue to flow. The energy will continue to flow. Transportation will continue. Communication will continue. Healthcare will continue. Education will continue. Because you don't need the devil. You don't need somebody that can shut the nation down. Who? Boy, we have stone been crazy. They can shut us down. This nation, our people out there suffering while people talking about power. That ain't God. What else do you need to know? What else do you need to know? How many of your kids can't go to school? You want them to go to school. They might want to go to school. But the nation says you got to pay this. Your kid's sick, you got this kind of disease, and they need help. God has provided for, but the nation says you got to pay this. Ladies and gentlemen, you think you a child of God? Tomorrow, the church is going to be filled with people coming to church talking about how wonderful God has been to them. And not a stinking one of them are going to say how good they've been to one another for God. My. I wish I could get my voice in every church so I can lift up the God of love. Not one that's choking you, saying, do what I want, or I'm going to put you out. Come on, let's love once again. Now, I'm giving you my message. I had to give it to you just like that. Some of you got something out of it and some of you didn't. But I did my part, and I want to thank you so very much for giving me this your time. And I want to thank all of those people outside in the world who are doing everything you possibly can. We all appreciate you. But I want you to know, when you say you're working for God, you got to work for God. You cannot be working for, well, let me say, Walmart, and then get saved and steal that Walmart talking about God gave you a job. No, no. You can't be working. Let me think, give me a company that's big. And let's say First Bank. You got this wonderful job with First Bank now, making good money, doing what the banks do, carrying on the process of evil. Because when you compare whatever you're doing at that bank, I know you were tricked to think it was good. But in light of what God is all about, it is as evil can be. But that means you got to walk out of there. You still got to come and got to get your rent paid. But in the system, you got to let the people know that the old way is over. And you don't have to fight. You don't have to get violent. You just stand up and quit it. And one more last thing. We have suffered this so long. Somebody said the sins of the father will not be passed on to the children. That means that maybe God would have to step in. But in the meantime, if you're standing up for right and you got to get smashed, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, it means you got to get smashed. Why? Because those that are following behind you are going to be worse off than you if you don't stand up and do the right thing now. So it might require a lot of us to be smashed to prepare the ground that our children and our grandchildren might be able to see the light of God on earth once again. Yeah? It's you, it's me. We should be glad. If we know God, we should be glad that we have the light, that we are in charge of waking things back up, because now we can depend on ourselves to do the work and not be mad at our parents and our grandparents because they didn't take care of business. We just want to make sure that our children, our grandchildren won't be mad at us. So I think that's ending on a good note. Until next time, this is Eddie Marcus saying bye-bye. 22.